Hello everyone, I am back and my name is Vanessa. The name of this channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria, and I'm sharing this knowledge via two books written by Zachary Hubbard. The name of the first book is entitled Letters and Numbers. The title of his second book is entitled Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, and this is the young man that wrote the book, Zachary Hubbard. And I will tell you at the end of this reading how to get both of his books. Gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters and words. So our alphabet are in fact numbers. So every word we speak has a numerical value. The more you learn about what gematria is, the more clearly you'll see how this alphanumeric code works, how it affects all of us, and how it has been used for thousands of years. With that said, I want to begin in, this should be the last reading of chapter 18. And I am on page 321, and I will begin reading the last paragraph on that page and moving forward. Okay, so without further ado, as for the topic of coronavirus connecting to the George Floyd story, let us not forget that on June 3rd, 2020, while the Global Vaccine Summit was taking place in London, there were national news headlines that George Floyd had tested positive for coronavirus. This was comical because it was the 155th day of 2020, and coronavirus sums to 155 with simple English. Coronavirus sums to 155 with simple English. It is a detail that should remind us of Clade X as well, hosted May 15th or 15/5, that simulated massive protests and rioting and violent police crackdowns. Furthermore, from Floyd's May 25th death to what would have been his upcoming birthday, October 14th, was 142 days, and coronavirus also sums to 142. As we have covered, there are parallels with the George Floyd story to the NBA, including the details of Kobe Bryant and Steven Jackson. And as we know, the NBA season was suspended on the 142nd day of the year before being declared to start again July 31st, 142 days later, prior to them adding a doubleheader to the schedule for July 30th, a span of 142 days from the league suspension. Okay? Proving that the patterns are no fluke is the fact that NASCAR returned from its coronavirus break on May 21st, 2020, the 142nd day of the year, as well as the PGA charity tournament for coronavirus. The special between Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, where Tiger equating to 201 with Jewish gematria in a year of Tiger symbolism, took the winning honors in an event called The Match, Champions for Charity, equating to 142 and pairing nicely with the surname Mickelson, summing to 142 as well. It should be noted that the tournament was played May 24th, 2020, what is normally the 144th day of the year, but in 2020 was the 145th, corresponding with the gematria of Catholic. Okay? On this subject, Tom Brady was also a participant in the event, losing to Peyton Manning 71 days before Brady's 43rd birthday, August 3rd, 2020. And as we know, Catholic sums to 71. On the subject of 71, I should note that the George Floyd killing video released May 26, 2020, a date with 71 numerology. It is important to pay in mind that in addition to Catholic, the number connects to the Pythagorean gematria of African American, as well as the title of the recent film, Birth of a Nation, both equating to 71, and the latter supposedly being a film that made only $7.1 million at the box office in a disappointing opening weekend. Once again, that film was about Nat Turner and his life leading up to his execution, November 11, 1831, a date with 71 numerology. At the same time, the name Crump equates to 71 with simple English, the Boulay lawyer that was announced as George Floyd's family attorney on May 26, 2020. Okay. Then it was on May 28th, the AutoZone burned, as well as the Target in Minneapolis, the latter store name equating to 71 with simple English. Then in the aftermath of those events, footage was shown all over the news of mostly African American looters rummaging through the store, a trend that set off a nationwide pattern of people looting Target stores, causing Target to close many of its nationwide locations temporarily. For everyone, this should have been an eye-opener because Target is headquartered in Minneapolis, and they are the sponsors for the stadiums that both the Minnesota Twins and Minnesota Timberwolves play in. With the subject of gematria aside, everyone should have asked, why attack Target if the societal response is based in being outraged by injustice caused by the governments through their violent and oppressive measures? That said, I do understand big corporations have a lot to do with government wrongdoing and corruption. And in that breath, let us not forget the nation is a corporation itself, thanks to the Act of 1871. In light of who is responsible for systemic oppression, conversations of shutting down authoritarian mechanisms did transpire in the wake of George Floyd's death, including the outright disbanding of police by cutting off all funding. This exact conversation is what reportedly led to the autonomous zone being formed in Seattle, again, an event that was foreshadowed in Minneapolis. Okay, so let me reread that. This exact conversation is what reportedly led to the autonomous zone being formed in Seattle. Again, an event that was foreshadowed in Minneapolis, when images that were presented on May 28th showed the words autonomous zone spray painted on the Minneapolis AutoZone, the same one that burned. And if you have investigated the burning of that store, you are likely aware of the man referred to in the mainstream media as Umbrella Man, who, while holding a black umbrella and dressed in all black, including a black gas mask, carefully broke all the windows of the AutoZone that was then set on fire soon after. Later, this same man was accused of being a police officer who worked at the nearby police precinct just blocks from the store, an allegation the department denied. Regardless of the truth of the allegations, the ritual is clear, and it is one that reminds us of the Umbrella Man in the Zapruder film, who is shown during the assassination of JFK in Dealey Plaza. In that parallel, let us not forget Dealey Plaza equates to 54, because soon after the Minneapolis incident with Umbrella Man at the AutoZone was captured on film, Seattle's autonomous zone was born on a date with 54 numerology, June 8, 2020. This happened because the Capitol Hill Police of Seattle abandoned their precinct on this date in response to the many protesters who were demanding for police to be defunded and disbanded. In addition to the 54 date numerology, matching the Pythagorean gematria of 54 for both Jesuit order and Capitol Hill. The site was formed next to Seattle University, one of the nation's 27 Jesuit universities. Also, in light of the date of formation for the autonomous zone, June 8, 2020, let us not overlook that it can be written 6/8. 6/8. In Seattle, Washington, the 68th city. That is home of the construction firm that began building the World Trade Centers in 1968 in New York, New York, Amy Cooper's hometown. And because I haven't said it in some time, all of this ritual is based in Kabbalah, equating to 178 with reverse simple, the same as George Floyd and Central Park, the latter being where Amy Cooper choked her dog on the same day George Floyd was choked to death. At the same time, I would like to remind us that ancient mystery religions equates to 119, the same as George Floyd and Central Park, where Amy doesn't like to use a leash. And as if the jokes weren't already terrible enough, on June 11th, the same day the market fell 1,861 points, 1861, slavery. The autonomous zone had risen to the top story in the nation, and it was stated on numerous cable outlets that the leader of Seattle's autonomous zone was a man named Solomon Samuel Simone, a local rapper and the CEO of Black Umbrella, a company that produces music videos and other related content. Even better, his birthday was said to be January 15th, 1990, meaning he turned 30 years old the same day the virus arrived in Seattle, per the official narrative. At the same time, the name Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone equates to 115 with Pythagorean, what he was the leader of. In addition to that key detail, the entire area was spray painted with symbols ranging from umbrellas to all-seeing eyes, and where the gematria of all-seeing eye equates to Vatican, the gematria of umbrella equates to 84 and 132, connecting the Catholic Church, its Jesuit army, and the United States of America. As for the importance of the symbolism of the umbrella, it is an object that can only be taken down from within, and that is a Jesuit tactic to infiltrate other organizations and either take them down from within or use them to their advantage. Consider what we discussed earlier with the coincidences of the Umbrella Corp. Consider what we discussed earlier with the coincidences of the Umbrella Corp from the Resident Evil video game. And don't forget what JFK said about secrecy and infiltration either, in light of the fact that he was assassinated not long after. Wow. With the idea of the Jesuits infiltrating other organizations, consider that at the site of Seattle's Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone was the Odd Fellows Temple, overlooking the area, part of an organization established April 26, 1819, 201 years earlier. The number of the Jesuit order, as well as the Order of the Illuminati. What brings even more intrigue to this organization is that their structure is referred to as Odd Fellows Hall, equating to 68, the same as Seattle, Washington, and reminding us of the June 8th date of establishment for the Chaz, C-H-A-Z, as it was called for short, having a lot to do with the gematria of anarchy as well as pandemic, and the fact that George Floyd was killed on 38th Street. Man. I'll let you practice and verify for yourself. Okay? Wow. At the same time, Odd Fellows sums to 115 with simple English, similar to how Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone equates to 115. With the base ciphers, Odd Fellows also sums to 43, like George Floyd and pandemic. And June 8th was precisely 43 days after their establishment date, April 26th. The name Odd Fellows also sums to 47, matching Seattle's coordinate on the 47th parallel north. And last but not least, it also sums to 155, corresponding with coronavirus and the fact that George Floyd was said to have had it on the 155th day of 2020 in the June 3rd news, courtesy of AP. Wow. Sadly, as I predicted, the Chaz, C-H-A-Z, capital letters, equating to 38 and 70, the same as anarchy, and having that connection to death through 38, would end with a tragic death, which came on June 20th, the same date I predicted it would, because the date can be written 20/6, similar to how sacrifice equates to 206 with Jewish gematria, and Seattle is home of the 206 area code. Beyond that, it's the home of Mark Hubbard, a Freemason and a skateboarding legend in the area, who was found dead at age 47 on June 8, 2018, the day leaving 206 days in the year. Wow. A date that came 2 years before the establishment of the Chaz. It is a reminder rituals come annually, and when you know the numbers that pertain to your city, you can really see through local news. Case in point, the person killed on June 20th was reported as being a 19-year-old, and Seattle sums to 19 with Pythagorean. Furthermore, the date of the shooting had 46 numerology, and where chaos sums to 19 and 46, Ordo Ab Chow equates to 46. So, I'm sorry. I know I misread that. Okay, furthermore, the date of the shooting had 46 numerology, and where chaos sums to 19 and 46, Ordo Ab Chow equates to 46. Okay. And for one more point on the matter, you might be asking, what about the other name it was called by? The CHOP, C-H-O-P, standing for Capitol Hill Occupy Protest. I'll have you know that CHOP, CHOP, sums to 42, the same as Jesuit, and the full name sums to 144, the same as Jesuit order, reminding us that Capitol Hill also equates to Jesuit order through 54, and the entire area was established June 8th, 2020, the date with 54 numerology. Let us not forget that Washington State is the 42nd state in order of statehood, jiving with Georgetown, equating to 42, the first Jesuit university established in the U.S. in Washington, D.C. With regards to the significance of the number 68 to Seattle, this is why the Seattle police announced on June 22nd, 2020, a date with 68 numerology, that they were returning to the abandoned precinct. Predictable. Also predictable, the 56th Mayor Jenny Durkin said on June 30th, 2020, a date with 56 numerology, that everyone was to evacuate the Chaz, CHOP, or they would be arrested on July 1st, 2020, a date coming 23 days after June 8th, when it began, connecting to the fact that end sums to 23 with simple English, and Jenny sums to 23 with Pythagorean. I should also note that 23 is the ninth prime number, and the number 9 represents completion. On the subject of the 56th mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkin, there is something important that must be said. It is proof she is part of the cult that is responsible for so much of the wrongdoing we're undressing in this book. And as we look at the evidence of her attachment to the cult, keep in mind that the cabal she serves has much to do with the existence of big tech companies in Seattle, Washington, that are also some of the biggest beneficiaries of the pandemic and could be described as the leaders of the technocratic takeover. Again, Amazon is led by 56-year-old Jeff Bezos at the time of the pandemic, and Google is led by Mr. 201 Sundar Pichai, Pichai, and Microsoft is the brainchild of William Henry Gates, another Mr. 201, and this is crazy. As for the proof of her being in the cult, a word equating to 56, it came on June 11, 2020, when she made a remark about the summer of love while referencing what was taking place in her city's autonomous zone, a phrase equating to 56. In a CNN interview with Chris Cuomo, a name equating to 56, and not to mention a person who was a main part of the daily CNN news cycle after he caught the flu, coronavirus, equating to 56, and who just so happens to be the brother of the 56th governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, the most covered governor in the nation in the time of the pandemic. What made her summer of love remark all the more bizarre was the national reporting on July 4th, 2020, the nation's birthday, that in Seattle, Washington, women with the names Summer Taylor and Diaz Love had been fatally injured in a car crash at a Black Lives Matter related protest. Their ages were reported as 24 and 32 respectively, thus adding up to 56, and reminding us that not only does Society of Jesus equates to 56, but their symbol is the sun, equating to 24, and in their illustration of the sun with the 3 nails, the sun has 32 rays coming off of it. For another miraculous catch and more Jesuit order fingerprints, fingerprints. One more, let me reread that. For another miraculous catch and more Jesuit order fingerprints, where their name sums to 72, 144, and 153. Summer Taylor equates to 72, 144, and 153, the woman who died soon after the news broke. Furthermore, the mention of a severely wounded 32-year-old on July 4th reminds us that July 4th, 1776 was a date with 32 numerology, and both America and Scottish equate to 32 in Pythagorean, and America is wounded. And please use your skills and decode the name Diaz Love. You should find many familiar numbers, including 68 and 94, corresponding with Seattle, Washington, and 122 corresponding with Satanic, and Seattle being on the 122nd meridian west. You should also find that the name Love equates to 54, the same as Jesuit order and Capitol Hill. In addition to those points, further exposing the Seattle mayor's puppet strings connecting back to the cabal is that from Durkin's remarks on June 11th to the accident in her city on July 4th was a span of 24 days, and even further from her 62nd birthday on May 19, 2020 to the interview on June 11th was also a span of 24 days. And then for the cherry on top, that means from her birthday to July 4th to the July 4th ritual was her 47th day of her age, factoring into being on the 47th parallel north and on a date that can be expressed 4-7, not to mention the name Jenny Durkin sums to 47 with Pythagorean gematria, and the name Durkin alone equates to 24 with the same cipher. Wow. As we know, 47 is the number of government and authority as well as time. And let us not forget the tropics of this earth that measures the solstices, thus measuring the sun, are separated by 47 degrees. So for anyone out there doubting she is an agent of the Vatican, think twice. And oh yeah, by the way, until the Space Needle in Seattle was recently remodeled, it had a rotating restaurant that did a full rotation every 47 minutes. And on the subject, I suggest you look up the June 14th, 1974 movie, The Parallax View, P-A-R-A-L-L-A-X, The Parallax View, only because it came out on Trump's 28th birthday and is all about a presidential assassination. And is about a presidential assassination at Seattle Space Needle, located on the 74-acre Seattle Center campus, reminding us that Donald Trump turned 74 years old this year, the 46-year anniversary of the release of the film in 74, or release of the 74 film, the year 74. Okay, also noteworthy. All right. Where was I at? Ooh. Okay, here we go. Also noteworthy. The title of the film equates with the Jesuit order in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, summing to 69, 84, and 177. It's a number Tamara Braxton, equating to 177, can tell you about, because on July 17, 2020 or 17/7, she was a national news headline for being in the hospital after attempting to commit suicide, and that is Tamar Braxton. Okay, getting back on the subject of 56. Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. We're gonna get through this. But from when I got different glasses, I couldn't find my glasses, so some of the letters are just a little bit skewed, but not too bad. So I'm going to start over. I want to get this into context. Okay. After talking about the film, The Parallax View, it came out in 74. Donald Trump turned 74 this year. Okay, so also noteworthy, the title of the film equates with Jesuit order in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, summing to 69, 84, and 177. It's a number Tamar Braxton, equating to 177, can tell you about, because on July 17, 2020 or 17/7, she was a national news headline for being in the hospital after attempting to commit suicide. Okay, getting back on the subject of 56th mayors, Lori Lightfoot, the 56th mayor of Chicago, on May 26, 2020, yes, the day of the George Floyd video showing him being killed on the corner of Chicago Avenue. She asked for $56 million for contact tracing the people of Chicago 70 days from her August 4th birthday, reminding us that coronavirus sums to 56 and 70, and at the same time, martial law equates to 70, what has been hinted at by Donald Trump in the wake of the George Floyd-related protesting. Case in point, Donald Trump threatened to use federal force to shut down the autonomous zone that was formed on June 8th, Andrew Jackson's death date anniversary, who passed away in 1845, emphasis on 45, the first U.S. president to declare martial law. It's a reminder that the riddles are deep. At the same time, let us not forget that Bobby L. Rush, equating to 56, also serving the federal government in Illinois, is who introduced H.R. 6666, the contact tracing bill. At the same time, let us appreciate that Barack Obama, another man with big ties to Illinois, is who won the 56th U.S. presidential election, and like Lightfoot, has an August 4th birthday. The 216th day of the year, the product of 6 times 6 times 6. This should remind you, the mainstream media called it a coincidence when the Illinois Pick 3 lottery was 666 on November 5th, 2008, the day after Obama accepted the presidential nomination in Grant Park, Chicago, Illinois. Keep in mind, that is Guy Fawkes Day, the day leaving 56 days in the year. And to bring it all together, Illinois sums to 54, the same as Mark of the Beast and Jesuit Order. And do me a favor and go back and revisit the headline from August 1st, 2018, emphasis on 8-1, where Obama endorsed 81 candidates for the upcoming November election, as we learned earlier. Mark of the Beast also equates to 81, as does ritual, and that is who the cabal performs for, the Beast, or the 47, reminding us that Obama took office at age 47, alongside the 47th Vice President, Biden, who now runs against the orange, overgrown Oompa Loompa, Trump, also equating to 47, who sat in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night he was named president-elect. Personally, as I think about it, I am reminded of Kurt Vonnegut, who wrote that only terrible people become president of the United States. He wasn't wrong, but in the same breath, all of this can change if we act as a people and stand up to the deception and tyranny, as well as the unwarranted oppression. On the subject of beasts, let us not forget the film series The Purge, where the new founding fathers encouraged people to unleash the beast, participating in crime and murder on the dates of March 21st and 22nd every year, where it is legal to do so. Let us not forget from the same series, the film titled Election Year uses the exact same campaign slogan as Donald Trump in 2020, Keep America Great. Man. Let us also not forget from the same series, the film entitled Election Year uses the same exact campaign slogan as Donald Trump in 2020, Keep America Great. And in 2020, for a period of time after the killing of George Floyd, we witnessed mainstream networks cheerleading the uprising in America that mostly resulted in the vandalism and looting of the property, and authoritarian measures such as curfews put in place and National Guard deployments, including to Atlanta, Georgia, a predominantly black city, and reminding us that in the purge. The federal government targets black communities for extermination through policy while covering up the truth of the matter. Furthermore, it reminds us that the TV show Containment concluded on July 19th, 2016, the 201st day of the leap year, and again, it is about a virus being unleashed in Atlanta by the CDC for experimentation purposes, events that lead to protesting and rioting. Altogether, it reminds us that the same people responsible for our entertainment are the same people responsible for the agendas we are living out, where entertainment is essentially a form of public relations for the cabal, slowly preparing us for the world they are building around us day by day, riddle after riddle. Oh my God. Whew. This stuff is just freaking ridiculous. To further the point on the connection, between entertainment and what we perceive as reality, I should mention the popular video game series Mortal Kombat added a new character to their franchise on May 26, 2020, the same as the George Floyd killing video. Man, that character was RoboCop, based on the 1987 film from 33 years earlier, and the joke with this was hidden in the conversation that was sparked in mainstream media about replacing police with technology and possibly even robots, the same kind that have been demonstrated in recent years to be the future soldiers of tomorrow. And if you're like me, robotic soldiers make you think of Terminator. And fittingly, the RoboCop character was introduced on May 26th alongside a Terminator character as well. And that's not even counting the fact that Detroit is busy erecting a RoboCop statue at the exact same time. In other words, the cabal is gloating at what they've accomplished with technology and the matrix of surveillance built around us, and how they dupe us into paying for it from our money taken in taxes to the money we give to them at the box office and with other consumerism gimmicks. Speaking of consumerism gimmicks, did you catch when Ford announced they were releasing the Bronco for the first time in a long time on July 9th, 2020, what was O.J. Simpson's 73rd birthday, having been born in 47. The man remembered in part for the white Ford Bronco chase. If not, it was a big story leading up to the date of release when Ford disappointed many people, announcing they were going to have to postpone the Bronco's release until 2021, the year OJ will turn 74, meaning they got the hype out a year in advance. Keep in mind, the O.J. Simpson murder trial was very divisive, especially in terms of race, and this Ford Bronco news came while Black Lives Matter was pounding pavement across the world and equating to 56 with Pythagorean gematria, the exact same as Ford Bronco. At the same time, Bronco alone equates to 95, and the O.J. Simpson trial was decided October 2nd, 1995. In 95, okay? And don't overlook that 10/2/102, a date. Don't overlook the 10/2 date either, because you know what 102 means. I'll add OJ's first name sums to 42, reminding us that slavery and nigger both sum to 42 and 102, and of the story about Ahmaud Arbery being called a nigger 102 days after his killing, and how the U.S. Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, and so on. You'll see. Now that you've opened this can of worms, this infinite knowledge. The patterns are extremely redundant throughout history, and you'll go back and look at things like the man who gave the Black Power salute at the O.J. Simpson verdict, Lionel Cryer, a name that goes beyond gematria, and you'll see his name sums 2, 64, and 62. And you'll go, him too? Get used to it. Absolutely every freaking piece of person that gave us in history is him. Get used to it. You're absolutely right, Zach. Oh my God, this shit drives me fucking nuts. Man, you'll do it with O.J. Simpson as well, catching the 113 in his name. And that is full. And that his full name sums to 84 in Pythagorean, a favorite number of the Jesuit order, the same as 95 and 56, all pertaining to O.J.'s trial of the century, an event made for TV audiences for the sake of the distraction and division that it would cause in its viewers, that took place while the New World Order moved slowly against us, as it always is, amounting to where we now are because most of us missed the major warnings, including September 11, 2001, or 9/11 as most people call it. Wow. Back on the subject of corporate gimmicks and getting back to the subject of the George Floyd killing, let us discuss how Nike and Colin Kaepernick fit in, the latter being the man blackballed from the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem beginning in 2016, a little more than a year before the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Before we connect the dots, I want to give you a few historical and geographic points to consider, in case you have never noticed this before. San Francisco and the larger Bay Area are the home of the NBA's Golden State Warriors and the MLB's Oakland Athletics, teams that are from Philadelphia originally, and for a period of time, San Francisco, equating to 122 with simple English, the same as Liberty Bell, was the home of Philadelphia's Liberty Bell on the 122nd Meridian West, that's name originates with Saint Francis of Assisi, who Pope Francis is named after, and whose name equates to 122 with simple English as well. On the subject of rituals connecting the two cities, take a look at the date of August 11, 2019, when the San Francisco Giants hosted the Philadelphia Phillies. And in that game, they remembered the Giants' 1989 World Series earthquake team, where the World Series and its live broadcast was interrupted because of an earthquake. If you don't recall the incident, it was the game between the Oakland Athletics and San Francisco Giants that was interrupted on the date of October 17, 1989 at 5:04 p.m. when the earthquake struck. Baseball equals 54. Jesuit order equals 54. The time, 5:04. You would just say 54. Ignore the zero. If you go back and watch the footage, you'll see the last thing shown on the screen before it cuts to fuzz, as it did in those days when the signal was interrupted, was Jose Canseco crossing home plate, the man who wore number 33 for the Oakland Athletics and who went on to win the World Series, but not on that day. It matters that he was the last person shown because the date of the incident was exactly 107 days after his July 2nd birthday, having been born on this date in 1964, and the number 107 connects to the simple English gematria of both military and earthquake, and it also connects to his full name, Jose Canseco Capas Jr., C-A-P-A-S. Okay, his full name, Jose Canseco Capas Jr., 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 equating to 107 and 55, the same as earthquake. And for a teaching moment, when it comes to Spanish letters, if they have an accent on them, they are null values, meaning they are worth 0. Thus, E with the little mark above it equals 0. With this in mind, I should mention that the name Jose, J-O-S-E, Jose Joaquin de Ferrer equates to 201 and 84, the same as the Jesuit order, and he is the Spanish sailor and astronomer who coined the term corona in relation to an eclipse, and he did it in Kinderhook, New York in 1806, not too far from the site of Event 201, where the coronavirus outbreak simulation took place. And if you search for his Wikipedia, you will see it is currently showing an illustration of the man doing the hidden hand pose popular amongst Jesuits and Masons, and it explains in part why Derek Chauvin had his hand in his pocket while he was on George Floyd's neck. To verify this is the case about the hidden hand, do a search and start with the names Pope Francis and Anthony Fauci. I should also mention, just as Fauci equates to 95, a man born on a date with 95 numerology, December 24th, 1940. Okay, I should also mention, just as Fauci equates to 95, a man born on a date with 95 numerology, December 24th, 1940, the location of Kinderhook, New York, equates to 95 with Pythagorean, reminding that Event 201 took place the same day the military world games began in Wuhan, China, games that have origins in Rome and that began in the year 1995. Okay, and I hope I read that clear enough that you guys can understand that. Okay, alright. Also, I'd be amiss if I did not tell you how Oakland Athletics equates to 56 with Pythagorean, the same as Society of Jesus, and athletics alone equates to 56 with reverse Pythagorean. At the same time, natural disaster sums to 56 with Pythagorean and 223 with reverse simple English. Regarding the latter value, that championship team and series was remembered at the Giants and Phillies game on August 11th, 2019, the 223rd day of the year. Better yet, August 11th was the anniversary of the patent date for HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, the military technology that has the power to create earthquakes, which was filed August 11th, 1987. The number, excuse me, the number for the patent is 4686605. And because of gematria, we can understand the date was purposeful, because HAARP, and these are all capital letters, HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, equating to 223 with Pythagorean. Let us not forget the Giants were hosting Philadelphia, and the biblical land of Philadelphia was known for earthquakes, and further, Philadelphia equates to 223, the same as the synagogue of Satan. And as we learned earlier in Revelation, a letter is written to the church of Philadelphia about the synagogue of Satan, the false Jews, who are liars, as they are described in the Bible. Furthermore, high frequency active auroral research program sums to 457, the 88th prime number, and with satanic gematria, earthquake equates to 457, whereas California sums to 88 with simple English. At the same time, HAARP. I hope I wasn't saying that acronym incorrectly before, but I don't think I was. HAARP. Okay, at the same time, HAARP sums to 44 with simple English, and earthquake sums to 44 with Pythagorean. And August 11, 1987 was a date with 44 numerology. Whew, like kill. Keep in mind, the number 44 has connections to military and time, as well as the word prophet, Prophet, as we covered earlier with the Dean Koontz joke on the 44th day of February 2020, when it was announced that his book had foretold the deadly virus through the story of the Wuhan 400 virus in a novel he wrote in 1981. You lying bastards. In light of prophecy, Prophecy, I should also point out that August 11, 2019 was the second day of Tisha B'Av in 2019, associated with the coming prophecy of the third temple and the Jewish Messiah, and it also happened to be Eid al-Adha. Okay, and I'm going to spell that in case I mispronounced it, but it is spelled EIDAL-ADA. Okay, so okay, it also happened to be Eid al-Adha, the Muslim day to give praise to Abraham, Mr. 56, who was willing to sacrifice his son for God. On that same day, August 11th, written 11/8. The Israeli police fired tear gas, equating to 118, on the peaceful worshippers at Temple Mount. And as I said then, it was a sign things were getting hot and heavy, and we were nearing the end of 2019, and the 19-year cycle of 9/11 was upon us. Of course, I had told people all year to circle August 11, 2019 and the site of Temple Mount, because it was foretold in the news and popular media harm was coming to the site, including through the show Dig, where you must call 811 before you dig deep, at least in the United States. Now, to get to the point about how Colin Kaepernick fits in with George Floyd, it is that his name equates to 146, the same as Jesus Christ, which should make you think of John 14:6. And how the Society of Jesus runs the show. Furthermore, Kaepernick is known for kneeling in protest, and George Floyd was killed on May 25, 2020, the 146th day of the leap year, after being kneeled on. And since all of this relates to the flag, its birthday is June 14th. A date written 14/6, and in the wake of the George Floyd killing video, the Confederate flag, a name equating to 201, was banned across the nation. No doubt a sibling of the U.S. flag, and technically a flag that you could say represented half the country's history. As for Kaepernick, when he began protesting, in his own words, but not really, think of him as an actor repeating scripted lines and doing things like wearing a Fred Hampton t-shirt on December 4th, 2016 in Chicago after a road game with the 49ers, what was the 47th anniversary of Hampton's assassination. He said he was championing the cause of the 1968 Olympic protesters in Mexico City, emphasis on 68, that year again. On the subject of 68, I need to point out that Afro has gematria of 68, and Colin Kaepernick grew out his afro for the 2016 season to play the part on a T. To play the part to a T, I'm sorry. And for a related story, please look up the death of Oscar Gamble, the MLB star known for one of the greatest afros in MLB history, who died at the age 68, 42 days after his own birthday on Jackie Robinson's birthday, number 42. A man having the nickname Jackie, equating to 42. On that same day, January 31st, 2018, Rasual Butler, a former NBA star, died in a car crash like Jackie's son. And Don Lemon of CNN had his sister drowned in a frozen pond while walking on ice. Keep in mind, all three of the deceased from that day, Oscar Gamble, Rasual Butler, and Latanya, L-T-A-N-Y-A, and Latanya Lemon, had names equating to 42 with Pythagorean gematria, of course. Of course, they were all black, and they were all they were all news on the first day of Black History Month. Man. And for the record, the man credited with Black History Month is largely Carter G. Woodson, a name equating to 69, 177, and 201, in all the same ciphers as the Jesuit order. Getting back to Colin Kaepernick, he once said he was taking a knee for the many people of darker complexions who were reportedly murdered by police brutality in his lifetime and who were not truly represented by the supposed symbolism of the U.S. flag. Not that I would say most people are of any complexion unless they're American dreaming, especially in the post-Eric Garner and Michael Brown killings area. Well, for me, whatever color a person is, I never would have called Kaepernick black. I thought he mixed, maybe Mexican or something else. But I know they could have picked someone else to grow a better afro to play that part, because he sure didn't. And these people don't have to worry about nobody coming in their neighborhoods doing shit. They can't do nothing for our people, period, because, the government's not going to let them, especially the way this shit is set up. But just, man, all this false crap that they are participating in. Whew, this is just mind-blowing, but I'm glad I know. As you'll recall, in the NFL seasons following their deaths, teams such as the St. Louis Rams, and others often paid tribute to the motto, "Hands up, don't shoot." And the small protest eventually led to Colin Kaepernick being seen as the leader of the movement due to his symbolic kneeling in the pregame. To be more specific about the time frame, he was recognized as the leader shortly after the team he played for, the 49ers, hosted Super Bowl 50, what I call the Race War Bowl. To jog your memory, it was the one where the white Broncos defeated the Black Panthers a week after a new TV show debuted about the O.J. Simpson murder story that began with a white Ford Bronco chase. That detail reminds me Henry Ford himself died on April 7 in the year 47, emphasis on 47 in 47. And reminding us that the first NFL Super Bowl season was the 47th. Oh my God. Damn. At the same time, Colin Kaepernick gave the 49ers their first Super Bowl loss. In Super Bowl 47, the 33-minute blackout bowl, as some headlines put it, where it was the first time two brothers coached against each other in the NFL's big game, and the one with the name John Harbaugh defeated the one with the name Jim Harbaugh. Of course, John sums to 47 with simple English, making him the fitting recipient of the Super Bowl 47 win. In addition to that, he coached the team from Maryland, equating to 47 as well. To be more specific about when Colin Kaepernick became the face of the NFL's national anthem protest movement that is tied in with Black Lives Matter, it was on the 239th day of 2016, August 26th, 2016, coinciding with what we learned about 239 Arch Street, where the flag was sewn in Philadelphia, and 239 being the 52nd prime number, and the Eagles winning the rigged Super Bowl in Minnesota, equating to 52, after Donald Trump took on the NFL protesters on September 23, 2017, over the protest of the flag, the date that could be written 23/9, and reminding us that President and White House and government and authority all equate to 52, and so does Pope. And Pope Francis had been in D.C. years before, where he spoke on the White House lawn on September 23rd, beginning at 9:23 a.m. local. And then further, it also reminds us there are 52 weeks in the year, and there are 52 cards in the deck, and there is the terminology in cards, trump cards. Thus, the number clearly is relevance. Thus, the number clearly has relevance. And let us not forget that Kabbalah equates to 52 either, the source of the code being used daily by the Cabal all 52 weeks of the year. It is to say, they're busy spelling for the sake of maintaining control and contriving prophecy, also equating to 52. Prophecy equates to 52, and reminding us that the 49ers fell to 5-2 in Super Bowl 54 thanks to the Mega 222 ritual that was part of the year 2020, defined by Wuhan coronavirus, or 222 in gematria terms, and where the virus has been compared in mainstream media to biblical prophecy concerning the end times. Lying bastards. I should also note, in light of what we documented regarding Colin Kaepernick equating to 146, and Jesus Christ equating to 146, and John 14:6, and George Floyd being killed on the 146th day of 2020 in a kneeling ritual, there is something that needs to be said about Sleepy Floyd, the basketball star who played for the Houston Rockets in George Floyd's hometown after playing at Georgetown for his college years, the nation's first Jesuit university. This point needs to be made because it was emphasized that George Floyd said, "I can't breathe, I want mommy, and I am sleepy," in the disturbing recording of his death. Again, as silly as the riddle might seem, it is there, and to make the point, Sleepy Floyd's real name is Eric Floyd, equating to 146, the same as Colin Kaepernick. In addition, Eric Floyd sums to 52, the same as Minnesota, and I can't breathe. Beyond that, his 60th birthday was March 6, 2020, exactly 80 days before George Floyd was killed, and Sleepy, as well as Bryant and Boulay, each equate to 80, reminding us that MLK died 80 days after his 39th birthday, and George equates to 39 like Gemini, and reminding us that Malcolm X was 39 as well, and that George's twin incident was with Amy, a name. Okay, let me reread that. And that George's twin incident was with Amy, a name equating to 39 in New York, equating to 39. That are the number of books from the Old Testament, 39 in number, that Revelation is based up on. Okay. The subject of the number 39 brings me to Nike, a larger-than-life international company having a name equating to 39 with simple English, and one that championed Colin Kaepernick's cause when the NFL wouldn't. Their big statement was made September 23rd, 2018, a date that can be written 39 or 93, when they paid the NFL star big money for a new advertising campaign as a way of endorsing his protest while capitalizing and selling merchandise to match. Keep in mind, Colin Kaepernick's birthday is November 3rd, or 11/3, you liar, 113, similar to yes, 113, corresponding with the simple English gematria of protest. In light of the date of endorsement, September 3rd, consider Colin ran Kaepernick. The full name of the athlete equates to 93 with Pythagorean, and Kaepernick sums to 93 with simple English, the reflection of Nike's 39. This action by Nike by the numbers reminds us of how the elite siphon the wealth of the public through their own psychological operations that are meant to exploit people's emotions and human nature for the sake of getting them to buy into something, whether it is another Nike t-shirt with some slogan or wearing masks in public in the time of a virus that isn't deadly at all. My goodness. Continuing with the subject of 39 and 93 in regards to Nike and Colin Kaepernick, Nike is a company that is very much a part of the cabal, and for their logo they use a ring of Saturn, the planet, equating to 93 with simple English, making Kaepernick a perfect match for one of their advertising campaigns. Furthermore, Saturn is a sacred symbol and astrological body to the occult, and of extreme importance to the occult. We are exposing the planet that is said to be the keeper of time and the sixth from the sun, reminding us that both Nike and Saturn equate to 21 with Pythagorean gematria, the sixth triangular number. I should also note Nike is headquartered in Oregon, a state that was established as the 33rd on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1859, a date with 93 numerology. Of course, 33 in numerology terms is 6, and in light of mankind being made on the 6th day, let us not forget that people and person equate to 33 with Pythagorean, or the 33 bones that make up the human vertebrae. To help you understand the greater relevance of these numbers and their relationships even further, consider that the Holy Bible is 1,189 chapters long, 1189 chapters long, broken down to 929 chapters in the Old Testament and 260 chapters in the New Testament, meaning the 930th chapter of the text, 93, is where the Christian section begins. This becomes all the more interesting when you recognize that Christianity sums to 930 with Sumerian gematria, where you multiply the alphabetic order by 6, the same as coronavirus. The virus outbreak that has 666 encoded all over it, and reminding us that Genesis equates to 666, and mankind is made on the 6th day, and the first man is Adam, who lives to be 930 years old in the Bible. And of course, in numerology terms, 930 is equivalent to 93. And in light of one story building onto the next as time passes on, let us not forget how central the number 93 is to the George Floyd ritual killing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, equating to 93 and located on the 93rd meridian west. Let us also keep in mind that crucifix, God's Son, and Nazareth equates to 93, and Jesus was crucified between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the Bible. And in recent years, modern science traced Jesus' crucifixion to April 3rd, the 93rd day of the Gregorian year, and a date written for 3 like Jesus Christ and like George Floyd. While we're at it, Colin Kaepernick sums to 74 and 146, also like Jesus Christ. And I should note, in light of Jesus largely being remembered for his death and what his death meant for mankind, and Saturn being connected to death and judgment, there is a famous symbol you have seen that is connected to death, but you might not be aware of its relationship to Saturn. It is the scythe of the Grim Reaper, the same scythe that is part of Saturn's astrological symbol. Look it up when you get a moment. Beyond the numbers, Jesus' struggle was on behalf of the meek and the needy, and that is what is supposed to be the case with Colin Kaepernick's struggle as well. That is now directly connected to the George Floyd story, and for further proof, the Kaepernick and Floyd stories are part of the same script. Consider that September 3rd, 93, when Nike endorsed Kaepernick's stand against authoritarianism, that was also the day leaving 119 days left in the year, connecting to the gematria of both George Floyd and Civil War. I should mention NASCAR driver Ray Ciccarelli, Ciccarelli, Ray Ciccarelli, having a name equating to 119, said he was quitting the sport when the Confederate flag ban was announced on June 10th. Also part of the script, and because Confederate sums to 201 and sports factor into the riddles in the news, keep an eye on the Minnesota Vikings if there is a Super Bowl 55, knowing that Minneapolis equates to 55 and Minnesota Vikings equates to 201. In light of the discussion of 93 and the killing of George Floyd and what is perhaps the most 93 city in the world, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and to further connect the dots, let us not forget Wuhan coronavirus equates to 93. Of course, it is the same virus making it hard for people to breathe, causing the need for ventilators, a word overlapping with coronavirus in 3 out of the 4 base ciphers, plus being a word that equates to 930 in Sumerian. More importantly, because the recording of George Floyd being killed on the 93rd Meridian West was shown across the world, it sparked protests worldwide that are now being partially blamed for the second wave of coronavirus outbreaks. Of course, the coronavirus outbreak is very much a ritual in time, corresponding with the year 2020, a year syncing with the gematria of time, equating to 20, and being a year having a relationship with tarot, because the 20th card of tarot is the judgment card. And again, Saturn, equating to 93, is the keeper of time and connecting to judgment. I should also note the word recording sums to 93 with simple English, the same as Saturn, and a recording is something that allows us to capture a moment in time. If you would like to learn more about the occult, Saturn, and the number 93, I suggest you look into Aleister Crowley's work. I will point out he died in 1947, emphasis on 47, the number symbolizing time, because Saturn is the keeper of time, and Crowley not only worshipped the number 93, but he also worshipped the planet. Wicked ass bastards. In your research of Crowley, you should discover that he founded the religion that worships the number 93, named Thelema. To them, 93 represents the word love, equating to 54, with both simple English and reverse simple English, like how sun, S-U-N, equates to 54 with simple English. The object in the sky that makes life on earth possible and is also reported to be 93 million miles away from Earth on average. If you do research Crowley, you'll find that he is very influential in the world of entertainment, especially with regards to music, a trend that began in the 60s with emerging British rock and roll bands, including Led Zeppelin, equating to 47 and 61, the same as rock. Other bands touched by his magical teachings included Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and many more, creating a tradition that has never left the music industry. If you've read my first book, you know just how many musicians and entertainers have been taken by the 93 code, if you will. And on the subject, when you have a moment, look up the song by Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath, titled Mr. Crowley, about Aleister Crowley unleashing something evil in the world that cannot be undone, and that was beyond Crowley's comprehension. You'll find Ozzy Osbourne began recording that song on March 22nd, 1980, the 17-year anniversary of the Beatles releasing their first album, Please 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 Me. Well, Please Please Me, March 22nd. 1963. And I'm putting the emphasis on 322, as in 322 for ancient mystery religions, and also 223 like 223, well 22/3 like 223 for the synagogue of Satan, because as Osbourne points out in his song, Crowley waited on Satan's call. At the same time, with Jewish gematria, Beatles sums to 223, and so does Masonic. More importantly, the song Mr. Crowley equates to 666 with reverse Sumerian, the same as Rockstar, and tying in with the fact that Ozzy Osbourne, rock and roll, and Number of the Beast each equate to 66. Again, if you research the man, you will find that he was very much a gematria and isopsephy enthusiast. And with regards to his cult classic Mr. Crowley, it released on September 20th, 1980, the 263rd day of the year, the 56th prime, and also the day leaving 102 days left in the year, the latter connecting to the gematria of magic, what Crowley was into educating about and practicing. On the subject of September 20th, that is also the date that Tavistock Institute was established in 1947. In 1947, an entity controlled by the Jesuits that is interested in steering the minds of the masses for the purpose of government and military operations. It also has a major history in steering famous British entertainment acts for the purpose of how they ultimately steer the populaces. To further emphasize the dark side of the number 93, and since we brought up the worshipping of 93 by Crowley, who is studied by those in the recording industry, and in light of what we have learned about this number in terms of how it connects to tragic events ranging from the 93 World Trade Center bombing to the 9/11 attacks to the outbreak of Wuhan coronavirus, I want to again visit the death of Naya Rivera, an actress and a singer, in Lake Piru, equating to 93 with simple English, where her body was found in the area of the lake known as Devil's Canyon. I come back to her death again because this example will really help you understand just how demonic and evil things are, as well as connected in the world of entertainment that is controlled by the Jesuits and the cabal, who have all the knowledge of Crowley and 10,000 times more at least. As a reminder, Naya Rivera passed at age 33, and prior to her passing, she had starred in the film At the Devil's Door, that premiered March 9th, 2014, emphasis on 9-3, at South by Southwest. Okay? Further adding to the riddle is the fact that her last Instagram post was "Just the Two of Us," the lyrics to Bill Withers' hit song, A Man Who Died earlier in the year, March 30th, 2020. But the news was not reported of his passing until April 3rd, what is typically the 93rd day of the year, and the date believed by science to be the date of Jesus' crucifixion, where a crucifix equates to 93. In addition to that, her death brought up the Glee curse in mainstream headlines, similar to the Kennedy curse. And Maeve Kennedy and her son had been found dead in a boating accident April 6th, 2020, 93 days before Naya Rivera's death on July 8th, 2020. As you'll recall, they were found in Shadyside, Maryland, equating to 97 on the 97th day of 2020 after a canoe accident where canoe and death equate in all four base ciphers, including 97 with reverse simple and beyond that. Their disappearance on April 2nd was 97 days before Naya Rivera disappeared and drowned on July 8th. Please also recall that the day Naya Rivera was assumed dead, July 9th or 9/7 like 97, was the day Eminem, who is known as Slim Shady, Shadyside, Maryland, who had the hit song 97 Bunny and Clyde about drowning his significant other, a song that also sampled the words from Bill Withers' Just the Two of Us, put out a new song criticizing those who weren't wearing masks, a song also having lyrics discussing the dirty police killing of George Floyd, meaning two incidents that have to do with breathing in their own separate ways, the same as drowning. At the same time, Eminem had another song from March 27, 2020 called Coffin on the debut album of the singer Jessie Reyez. Okay, on the debut album of the singer Jessie Reyez, who got her mainstream music start at a relatively old age at the tail end of 28 before turning 29 on June 12th, 2020, something that reminds us of Bill Withers, who began his music career around the age of 30 as well, relatively late for show business. Okay, so he's saying that they were relatively late in beginning their careers in show business, 29 and the age of 30 respectively. Okay, Jessie Reyez, Bill Withers. Okay, and don't overlook that her album came out 3 days before Withers' death, or that Naya Rivera was the third member of Glee to die, dying at age 33 and having her death confirmed July 13th or 13/7 like 137, the 33rd prime, the anniversary of the death of the first member of Glee, Corey Monteith, and also the 5-year anniversary of her starring in the 33rd episode of Devious Maids that released July 13, 2015, and where she dies by hanging in the episode, thus having her air supply cut off. Even further, the name of that episode is The Turning Point, equating to 78 and 84, the same as Jesuit, and where 78 corresponds with the date she drowned, July 8th or 7/8. As for the song Coffin, Eminem once again raps about drowning his significant other, and what makes this all the more condemning is that the name of the album the song is on, Before Love Came to Kill Us, equates to 93 and 123, the same as Lake Piru, where the latter number 123 connects to conspiracy and reminds us of the riddle with Will Smith's 51st birthday and Kobe Bryant's helicopter demise 123 days later, corresponding with the gematria of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. In case you forgot, Conspiracy also sums to 51. Same with helicopter. And in this case, so does Naya Rivera and Lake Piru. With regards to Will Smith, he also did a rap song using the words Bill Withers, just the two of us. He And even further, his name, Will Smith, equates to 55, reminding us that Naya Rivera died on a date with 55 numerology, July 8, 2020, connecting to the gematria of Satan, an entity symbolized in occult astrology by Saturn, and an alias for the devil, connecting back to the fact that Piru is a Finnish word for devil, and she was found in the Devil's Canyon section of Lake Piru at age 33, only after wearing a red sweater with the number 33 on it in the film At the Devil's Door. Keep in mind, that film title has gematria overlap with the Jesuit order in 3 out of 4 ciphers, equating to 69, 84, and 177, and reminding us that the news of Naya's disappearance on July 9th, a date connected to Society of Jesus, in all 4 ciphers, 56, 79, 187, and 191, coming on 7-9 like 79, and on the 191st day of the year, and on a date with 56 numerology. Wow. Precisely 187 days before Rivera's 34th birthday. Furthermore, let us not forget that Naya Marie Rivera and Glee both equate to 79, the same as murder. At the same time, her character from Glee, Santana Lopez, has identical gematria to Jesuit order and Kennedy curse, summing to 144, the number we learned much about in chapter 2. And we haven't even mentioned Eminem's album Devil's Night, or that July 8th, the day Rivera died, was Eminem's 266th day of being 47 years old. Wow. Well, the number 266 corresponds with the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator. I should also remind us, since we brought up the fact that Will Smith equates to 55, on July 14, 2020, it was reported that Will Smith's co-star on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Galen Gorg, was dead at 55, one day shy of her 56th birthday. That would have fell on July 15th, or 15/7, reminding of the ritual with the numbers 157 and 55 in the death of Kobe Bryant, a death very much connected to Will Smith through his once hit TV show The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And in light of her dying on July 14th, keep in mind that date can be written 14/7 like 147, corresponding with the reverse simple English value of conspiracy. She also died on a date with 41 numerology, bringing us back to the death of Kobe Bryant, equating to 41 at age 41. Even further, she died 170 days after Kobe, and sacrifice equates to 170. At the same time, she died 293 days after Will Smith's 51st birthday on September 25th, 2019, and 293 is the 62nd prime number, connecting to the gematria of sacrifice as well as Faustian bargain, the latter meaning a deal with the devil. She also died a span of 74 days from his 52nd birthday, or 73 days before his 52nd birthday. Let me reread that. She also died a span of 74 days from his 52nd birthday, or 73 days from his 52nd birthday, where sacrifice equates to 73 with simple English, and ritual sacrifice equates to 73 with Pythagorean. Also noteworthy, between Galen Gorg's death and Kobe Bryant's, Will Smith covered all the conspiracy numbers from the base ciphers, a word equating to 51, 57, 123, and 147. Once again, helicopter equates to 51 and 57. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air equates to 123, and Kobe Bryant died 123 days after Will Smith's 51st birthday. Wow. In a helicopter. An event coming prior to the death of Galen Gorg on July 14th. Or 14-7. What is Bastille Day in Paris, France? Both equating to 187, the original home of the Society of Jesus. I should also note, on the subject of 55, if you listen to the recording of the song Coffin, you'll hear Jesse Reyes sing about jumping past the 5th floor. And the word 5th floor is echoed immediately behind it. Thus, you hear the number 5 repeated twice in close proximity to each other, something that becomes all the more interesting when you consider this song's release is synced with the death of Naya Rivera, who died on the date having 55 numerology. Furthermore, Jessica Reyes sums to 55, as well as 71 and 145 like Catholic, and 179 like how Naya Rivera died 179 days after her own birthday. Keep in mind, 179 is the 41st prime, and Glee curse equates to 41, and so does the name Naya. To further the point about Satan, the album released March 27, 2020, the 87th day of the leap year. Beyond that, Naya Rivera was born in 87, and her date of death, July 8th, can be written 87. Furthermore, Eminem put out the album Music to Be Murdered By, equating to 87, with Pythagorean on January 17, 2020, and of course, Number of the Beast equates to 87 and 66 with Pythagorean ciphers, where 87 has numerology of 6. More importantly, both Naya Rivera and Lake Piru equates to 66 as well, bringing us back to her body being found in Devil's Canyon. And to think the people who used her beauty to sell shows and movies and ads and merchandise, they had her planned demise. They had her planned demise date written down all along by the code. Sadly, this is true for many stars, and for one more proof of that, Eminem's album Music to Be Murdered By released a span of 174 days from her death. And Number of the Beast sums to 174 with simple English as well. On the subject of 266 and the Jesuits, since we just brought it up with Eminem, and for yet another proof of who is behind this circus we're pulling the curtain back on, I should bring up what happened to the state of Frank Rizzo in Philadelphia shortly after George Floyd protests began. I should bring up what happened to the statue of Frank Rizzo in Philadelphia shortly after the George Floyd protests began. On June 3rd, 2020, his statue that had been up since 1998 came down, being retired by Jesuit agents posing as protesters who said he was a racist cop. Not by chance, Frank Rizzo equates to 63 with Pythagorean, similar to how racism sums to 63 with simple English, and being a number corresponding perfectly with the date, June 3rd or 6-3, thus making it the perfect target for the ritual in what became a national news story. If you go back in history, you'll find that Frank Rizzo died on July 16th, 1991, having been born October 23rd, 1920, meaning he died on his 266th day of his age. And for one more Jesuit connection, Frank Rizzo sums to 144 with simple English, the same as Jesuit order. He also died on a date with 43 numerology, corresponding with the gematria of policeman, Civil War, and George Floyd. And in case and in the case of his statue, it came down on the 155th day of 2020, corresponding with the gematria of policemen, also equating to 155, the same as coronavirus, further showing how the rituals intertwine with George Floyd and I Can't Breathe to COVID-19. Let us not forget, this was the day mainstream media let us know George Floyd had coronavirus, even though in those same reports they said he first tested positive on April 3rd, what is typically the 93rd day of the year, but in 2020, the leap year, it was the 94th, corresponding with the gematria of coronavirus pandemic. I wonder, did Chauvin get COVID-19? These motherfuckers are some lying people, MFers. Okay. Because I brought up 155 again, and we're talking about the falling of statues connected to racism in the post 400 years of American slavery with prophecy and Acts 7:6 in mind. The word statue equates to 76, the name for the objects that came tumbling down across the U.S. and even other parts of the world after the televised death of Floyd the landlord, you porno star. Furthermore, Christianity sums to 155, and Acts is the 5th book of the New Testament, the Christian section of the Bible, corresponding with George Floyd being killed in the fifth month, May, on the 25th, having a square root of 5. Okay. This is crazy. Furthermore, I'm going to read that again since I messed up right in the middle of it. Furthermore, Christianity sums to 155, and Acts is the 5th book of the New Testament, the Christian section of the Bible, corresponding with George Floyd being killed in the 5th month, May, on the 25th, having a square root of 5. Keep in mind, Acts is the 44th book overall in the Holy Bible, a number corresponding very much with black history, as well as officer, and the word prophet as in prophetic. Let us not forget George Floyd was killed by 44-year-old Derek Chauvin on the 44th parallel north, corresponding with Floyd's rap alias Big Floyd, equating to 44 with Pythagorean. And recall, in Acts 7:7, the nation that is responsible for 400 years of slavery is punished, and not only does United States equal 77, but so does police officer and police department, as well as the phrase order out of chaos. The point I am again making is that the cabal takes things, having the right numbers, if you will, and forces them into their planned narratives that treat the Holy Bible scriptures as a script. Abso-freaking-lutely. And I don't know how people can't freaking understand that. Makes no damn sense. They're using the freaking Bible. And I'm not the freaking Bible, it's my book, but they're using our book against us. They're using the Bible against everybody on this world, this planet. It's just really freaking ridiculous. And I done told people, I tell people and tell people, people I know, and they still don't understand this. Still dismiss it. It is just really insanity. People are really, maybe people aren't smart. People can't. I mean, this is just clear to see what's going on, people. With that said, Christ also sums to 77. And we have covered the numerous angles in the George Floyd story, paying tribute to Jesus Christ, including the Great Tribulation. And that is the part of the biblical story that must be understood. We are to expect great suffering, destruction, and war before the return of Jesus in the story handed down to us from the church. With regards to the number 77, connecting to the gematria of secret society, and with the title police officer in mind, also equating to 77, many are members of the secretive fraternal order of police. I'll bring this up in light of the story of the killing of David Dorn in St. Louis after the George Floyd protest broke out. A 77-year-old retired officer shot dead in the street June 20th, 2020. Emphasis on 6-2 and 2-6. In regards of his killing, Fox News ran the headline, "Murdered by a looter," equating to 84 and 201, numbers that remind us Michael Brown equates to 201, and he was killed in Ferguson, Missouri, equating to 84 just outside St. Louis. Even more, looter equates to 77, corresponding with David Dorn's age of death. And for more familiar numbers, the name David Dorn equates to 46, and it was reported he was a police officer in St. Louis for 38 years, comparing to how 46-year-old George Floyd was killed on the corner of 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, where Chicago equates to 46. To peel the onion back a bit more, St. Louis sums to 25, the same as death, and reminding us that George Floyd was killed on the 25th of May. St. Louis also sums to 74 and 115, the same as killing, and reminding ourselves of what we learned earlier about the killing of rapper Huey in St. Louis on June 25th, 2020. If I never mentioned it before, he had a hit song called Pop, Lock, and Drop It, equating to 71, the same as African American, and he died on a date with 71 numerology, a number we covered in connection to the release of the George Floyd killing video on May 26, 2020, reminding us of the repetitive nature of the code. And let us not forget that 71 is the 20th prime number. Death equates to 20. That's why we're seeing double deaths in 2020. It's just freaking ridiculous. As for Huey's hit song, it also equates to 64 and 181. And those numbers were used in the killing ritual of the rapper George Floyd as well, a man of many talents. You porno king. This brings us to our last point, and that is what Shaun King, the leader of Black Lives Matter, said about white Jesus late June 22nd, 2020 on social media, a date with 68 numerology that became top news for the day after June 23rd, where his message was condensed in headlines with phrases about white Jesus being a symbol of white supremacy and the need to bring down all depictions of white Jesus from art, work, and statues. Hallelujah. I will agree with that. Not by accident. The news came on the day leaving 191 days in the year, corresponding with the gematria of Society of Jesus, you actor Shaun King, the Divide and Conquer gang, and being the 43rd prime number, corresponding with the gematria of Jesus Christ, as well as George Floyd. And again, civil war, a target of the cabal. Mother effers. In analyzing this ritual, it should summarize the point trying to be made in this chapter and truly this book. That is, we the people are being played for fools by the numbers, by the Jesuits, or the Society of Jesus, as well as other fraternities with their Masonic umbrella, with biblical riddles and historical riddles, and with divisive lies and stories told in the news by our governments and authority figures and even churches. And understand, these lies are told for the purpose of keeping us fighting amongst ourselves so that the cabal can more easily rule over all of us. Again, the cabal is at the very least a three-headed monster that operates in the realm of spirituality through the Vatican, militarism, through Washington, D.C., and the financial world through the City of London, which control things such as the Federal Reserve. And together, these entities have immense influence on the world and collectively our lives. Coming back to Shaun King's big statements about ending white Jesus that were mainstream headlines on June 23, 2020, it is because of gematria that we can see why he was the perfect puppet for the ritual, and it was mostly because of his name. This is because Shaun King sums to 139, the same as white Jesus. More importantly, the artwork for white Jesus traces back to Caesar Borgia, born September 13, 1475 in Rome, emphasis on 13/9. You'll recall that is the day in 1996 that Tupac Shakur died, having a name equating to 139. And then he had his album Machiavelli released shortly after, with album artwork showing him crucified on the cross, the same as Jesus. As a reminder, the album released November 5th, 1996, Guy Fawkes Day, the gunpowder person, gunpowder plot, a Jesuit Remembrance Day, and the day leaving 56 days in the year. As another reminder, Tupac and Machiavelli equate to 74 like Jesus and Cross, and even Colin Kaepernick, puppet. At the same time, let us not forget what happened to Kobe, either in the 74th NBA season or that Roman Catholicism equates to 74. Boy. And to add to our 139 list, I must thank my friend Rambo, who pointed out that in the film The Matrix, not only does Neo's passport expire September 11, 2001, but his birthday is shown as September 13th. In the year 1971, emphasis on 71. Hopefully you get the joke from those crazy Catholics. Yeah, you bastards. And in the music video for Hate Me Now, the rapper Nas, also black, is shown on the cross portraying Jesus. Of course, the song name Hate Me Now equates to 139, puppet. As for Nas himself, his birthday is one day off, September 14th, but still in the time of Virgo, an astrological sign ruled by Mercury, equating to 103, the same as Cesare Borgia, reminding us that the Virgin Mary's birthday is celebrated in the time of Virgo on September 8th, the 251st day of the year, the 54th prime. Let us not forget, some Coptic Christians contend Jesus' birthday is September 11th. What is their New Year's Day, and of course also in the time of Virgo. And in light of Neo being born in 71, you should know that both Virgo and Catholic equates to 71 and 35 in the same ciphers. For a bit more on 139, let us not forget that it connects to the name America, as well as the word Freemasonry. And as we learned in the beginning, 139 is the 34th prime, and where Freemasonry sums to 139 with simple English, the word free sums to 34 with the same cipher. Of course, in America, pictures of white Jesus are very common, especially in churches. And with regards to 139 being the 34th prime, let us recall that both Jesus and church also equate to 34 with the base ciphers. And that's the concern, truth seeker. Can you imagine if the cabal is allowed to continue to push the ball forward as they are? How long until they're setting fires into churches with headlines blaming it on extremists who are erasing white Jesus. And understand, my point is asking this question is to get you to see that this is the direction we're being pushed and how divisive it can become. In 2020 and going forward, we, the people, shouldn't be fighting over race or anything. We should be coming together and finding commonality in truth and knowledge and taking steps to take care of one another and our world. Our lives really do matter. So does having a safe world to live in. So this is the only place our energy should be invested right now, and we can make it happen. We will do it for ourselves, our friends, our family, the children of the world, and the unborn generations. It is necessary, it is righteous, it is just, and it will happen. As you likely know at this point, the knowledge you have learned within this book truly is undeniable, and it has the power to awaken many, even the most closed-minded. So don't be afraid to share it. And there's not and here's to it, truth seeker. Let's do it. Let's pull back the curtain on these monsters and bring an end to their games based in numbers. Let's make it so we don't have to read headlines of needless tragedy anymore, from everything we've already covered to the death of the 22-month-old daughter of PGA golfer Camilo Villegas, who was reported to have died on Sunday, July 26th, 201 days after Villegas' 38th birthday on January 27, 2020, or the death of Randall Cunningham's 2-year-old in a hot tub accident on June 30th, 2020, 95 days after Cunningham's birthday, corresponding with the fact his name, Randall Cunningham, sums to 95 and 76, Negro, and his child died on a 76-day numerology, corresponding with the gematria of hot tub. Oh my goodness, and this is the end of chapter 18. Oh my goodness, this information is just mind-blowing. These people are using the Bible against everybody on this earth, hiding the truth, giving us lies, and I'm just, oh man, this stuff gives me a headache. But I am glad to know it. I'm glad to be free out of this web of all these lying history and stuff, and to actually know how it is being done. But anyway, I want to let you guys know how to get Zachary K. Hubbard's books. His first book is entitled Letters and Numbers, and I finished reading that book also on this channel, and you can go and read those, listen to me read those books. But anyway, when you visit Zachary K. Hubbard's YouTube channels, and he makes very good videos as well, very informative. His videos on YouTube are called Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports, and in the description of each video he produces, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book Letters and Numbers, which is a PDF file book. The book will come to you via email. Make sure you save the file. Zachary K. Hubbard left the copyright off this book so that you can have it bound into a book for your own personal library. There is over 700 pages in this book of nothing but page after page after page after page of facts. Facts. So in his second book, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, you can get this book directly from Zachary K. Hubbard by visiting his blog page, gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. And the first thing you will see when you arrive at his page is the advertising for the book, and as you scroll down, you will see the instructions on how to purchase the book. And be sure to watch Zachary K. Hubbard's videos. He has a show that comes on every Wednesday night? Every Wednesday night on TFR, Truth Frequency Radio. And as he's on Truth Frequency Radio, he's also broadcasting live on YouTube as well. And that begins at 6 o'clock on the West Coast, so you can imagine, you can figure out the time zone for wherever you live to watch his shows. But this man is brilliant. He broke this code. He shared it with everyone. And man, it's just phenomenal. But with that said, I'm going to end the reading here. This is the conclusion of chapter 18. And the next chapter I will be reading will be the last chapter, and that'll be chapter 19. But in the meantime, you guys have a good evening. Get his books. Start your own YouTube channel. Read his books. This information needs to go forward. Every man, woman, and child on this planet, no matter what language they speak, they need to know what gematria is, how it is being used, how it has ruined people's lives, especially during this coronavirus pandemic. And like I'm saying, I'm not saying coronavirus isn't real. Coronavirus didn't take place organically. I don't know how people can't put their heads around that. They spray our skies all the freaking time. We're being sprayed. We don't know what we're being sprayed with. You don't know what is. This stuff is just horrible. And maybe they are using sorcery. Everything that the Bible tells us not to use, they're using it. But all this stuff that we're living out was pre-planned already in 1968. And they're already, I'm sure they've already planned stuff for when my grandkids get grown. It's just an ongoing script, and they script things decades in advance. And we as a people, we should be able to stand up to this tyranny and have it to stop. And that's what I'm praying to the Most High for, to wake up everybody, because this stuff is crazy. But anyway, you guys have a good evening, and until next time.